I was reviewing code at my desk when the text came through. You're not invited to Sarah's farewell party tomorrow night. It's family only. My mother's words stared back at me from the screen. I had just transferred the final payment of $21,500 to help my younger sister Sarah pursue her dream job in London. My hands started shaking. 3 years of overtime shifts, missed vacations, and eating cheap ramen to save every penny. And now I'm being told I'm not even family anymore. The coffee in my mug had gone cold, but I didn't notice. I kept reading those words over and over, trying to make sense of them. Sarah was my baby sister, 8 years younger than me. When she graduated from college 3 years ago, she'd shown up at my Denver apartment with tears streaming down her face. A prestigious marketing firm in London had offered her a position, but the relocation costs were astronomical. She needed help with visa applications, apartment deposits, work wardrobe, and living expenses until her first paycheck. Our parents, Patricia and Robert, were good people but drowning in debt from Dad's back surgery. His construction job had wrecked his spine after 20 years of hard labor. Mom worked part-time at a local elementary school, barely making enough to cover their mortgage. I was the only one in the family with a stable income as a software engineer. "Donnie, you're my only hope," Sarah had said that night, clutching my hands across my kitchen table. "This opportunity will change my life. I promise, I'll make you proud." How could I say no? She was family. More than that, she was the baby of the family who'd always looked up to me. I promised her that day I'd make it happen, no matter what it took. The sacrifices started small. I skipped Marcus's bachelor party in Vegas, telling him work was too busy. Marcus had been my best friend since high school, but $700 for a weekend trip was $700 Sarah needed for her visa application. I sold my PlayStation, stopped eating out, and canceled my gym membership. Every dollar saved went into what I called the London Fund. Then came the bigger sacrifices. I moved from my nice 2-bedroom apartment in downtown Denver to a studio in Aurora, saving $800 monthly. My 12-year-old Honda Civic wheezed and complained, but I nursed it along instead of buying something reliable. While Sarah posted Instagram photos of wine tastings in Napa and shopping trips to Cherry Creek Mall, I was eating pasta with butter for the 5th night in a row. I took on freelance coding projects after my day job, working until 2 in the morning, then getting up at 6 for my regular job. Weekends disappeared into more code, more projects, more money for Sarah. When my laptop died, I bought a refurbished one instead of the new MacBook I'd been saving for. The financial transfers started 2 years ago. First, $3,000 for visa applications and legal fees. Then $5,000 for the security deposit and first month's rent on a London flat. Another $4,000 for professional clothing because London marketing firms expect a certain look. $2,500 for flight tickets. The requests kept coming, and I kept giving. I co-signed the lease for her London apartment when the landlord required a guarantor with established credit. My name went on the paperwork, making me legally responsible for 12 months of rent if Sarah couldn't pay. But I trusted her. She was working hard, interviewing with companies, preparing for her new life. Or so I thought. The $21,500 I just sent was supposed to be the final amount, covering her living expenses for the first 3 months while she settled into her new job. Sarah had texted me thank you with heart emojis, saying she couldn't wait to see me before she left. Now this message from Mom. Family only. The words felt like ice in my chest. I called my mother immediately. She answered on the 3rd ring. Her voice, artificially bright. "Hi, honey. How's work?" "Mom, what's going on with Sarah's party? Why can't I come?" There was a pause, the kind that told me she'd been expecting this call. "Oh, Donnie, don't take it personally. Jake's family is hosting at their country club, and they have a very strict guest list. You know how these places are." Jake's family? I knew Sarah had been dating someone named Jake for about 6 months, but I didn't realize his family was involved in her farewell. His parents are lovely people, very well connected. They own that development company, Harrison Estates? They've been so generous, helping Sarah with contacts in London, Mom's voice had that tone she used when she was trying to convince herself something was okay. Besides, honey, you know how you are about dressing up. Jake's parents are particular about their events. Sarah's trying to make a good impression before she leaves. And well, you showing up in your usual jeans and t-shirt might make things awkward. The words hit like a slap. Are you seriously telling me I'm not invited to my sister's farewell party because of how I dress? Don't make this difficult, Donnie. Why make things awkward? Sarah's starting a new chapter. Be happy for her. I hung up without saying goodbye. For the first time in 3 years, I felt something other than tired. I felt rage. That evening, I drove to my parents' house in Lakewood, my ancient Honda struggling up the hills. The familiar ranch-style home looked the same as always, with Mom's garden gnomes and Dad's neglected lawnmower visible in the garage. But something felt different when I walked through the front door. They were all there, gathered in the living room like they'd been waiting for me. Sarah sat on the couch, studying her new iPhone intensely. Tyler, my older brother, lounged in Dad's recliner with the confidence of someone who owned the world. 3 years older than me and a successful dentist with his own practice, Tyler had always been the golden child. Mom bustled around with coffee and her homemade chocolate chip cookies, as if sugar could sweeten this bitter situation. Dad sat in his usual spot, avoiding eye contact. "We need to talk," I said, remaining standing while they all stayed seated. Sarah finally looked up, her blonde hair perfectly styled, wearing a cashmere sweater I'd probably paid for indirectly. "Donnie, you're being dramatic. It's just a party." "Just a party?" "Sarah, I've given you everything I have for 3 years. I've lived like a monk while funding your dreams, and I'm not even invited to say goodbye?" Tyler adjusted his designer watch, a Rolex that caught the light. "Come on, little brother. You have to understand that different social circles don't always mix. The Harrisons move in different circles than us. Well, than you, anyway. My practice has several of their executives as patients. So, you're invited?" The realization stung. "Well, yes. But I've met them professionally. It's different." Sarah shifted uncomfortably. "Donnie, Jake's parents have certain expectations. They think. They have this image of who should be at their events. You're amazing, and I love you, but you're not exactly country club material. But I'm good enough to bankroll your move?" Mom set down a plate of cookies with unnecessary force. "Donnie, stop being selfish. Your sister has an opportunity to better herself. Sometimes we make sacrifices for family." "Sacrifices?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "What sacrifices have any of you made?" "Tyler, did you help with a single dollar?" Tyler shrugged. "My money's tied up in the practice. Equipment costs. You know how it is." "Dad?" I turned to my father, the man who'd taught me about loyalty and family. "You're okay with this?" Robert cleared his throat, still not meeting my eyes. "Son, I knew about the party situation for a few weeks now. Sarah asked me to talk to you, to prepare you, but I didn't want to hurt your feelings." The room went quiet. Sarah's phone buzzed, and she grabbed it quickly, but not before I saw Jake's name on the screen. "There's more, isn't there?" I asked, my voice deadly calm. Sarah set down her phone and took a breath. "Jake and I have been together for 2 years, not 6 months." The floor seemed to tilt. 2 years? You've been lying to me for 2 years? I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you everything. Jake's family has money, Donnie. Real money. They've been helping with my move too. They paid for half of everything. Then why did you need my money? She looked at her manicured nails, a French tip design that looked expensive. Jake's parents needed to see that I could contribute equally. That I wasn't just some gold digger after their son's trust fund. I needed to show them I had my own resources. My own independence. My resources, you mean? My independence that you stole. Tyler laughed. That's a bit dramatic, don't you think? Is it? I turned to face him. She used my money to prove to her rich boyfriend's family that she's not after their money. Do you not see the irony? Mom tried to intervene. Donnie, please. Sarah's trying to build a life. Sometimes we have to be creative with the truth. Creative with the truth? I felt my phone burning in my pocket. The banking app showing the transfer I'd made just hours ago. $21,500. You mean lying? You mean fraud? Dad finally spoke up, his voice gruff. Now, son, fraud is a strong word. Is it? She took money under false pretenses. She told me it was for a job that apparently she doesn't even have. She made me think she was struggling when Jake's family was bankrolling half of everything. What would you call it? Sarah stood up, tears forming in her eyes. They looked real, but then again, I'd thought her gratitude was real too. I do have a job. Jake's father has a tech startup in London. I'll be working in their marketing department. Jake's father. Of course. The pieces were falling into place. So this was never about your career. It was about following your rich boyfriend to London. It's not like that. Then what's it like, Sarah? Explain to me why I worked myself into the ground for 3 years while you lived your best life on my dime and his family's money? Tyler stood up, putting himself between Sarah and me. Back off, Donnie. You're scaring her. I'm scaring her? She's been playing me for years, and I'm the scary one? Dad struggled to his feet, his back clearly bothering him. Everyone calm down. We're family. We can work this out. Are we family? I asked, looking each of them in the eye. Because Mom just told me the party tomorrow is family only, and I'm not invited. So which is it? The silence stretched until Sarah's phone rang. She looked at it, then at me. It's Jake. I need to take this. She walked into the kitchen, and I heard her say, Hi, baby. No, everything's fine. My brother? Oh, he's just leaving. I was already at the door when Dad called out, Donnie, don't do anything you'll regret. I turned back one last time. The only thing I regret is not seeing who you all really are sooner. As I drove away, my phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. I'm sorry you're hurt, but maybe this is for the best. We're just too different now. I'll pay you back someday when I can. Someday. When she could. With what money? I wondered. Jake's? Or would she find another brother to bleed dry? I couldn't go home to my empty studio apartment, not yet. Instead, I found myself at a 24-hour coffee shop in Capitol Hill, nursing a black coffee I could barely afford after giving Sarah everything. My laptop was open, and I started doing what I should have done months ago, investigating. First, I logged into our shared cloud storage where Sarah had supposedly been keeping her job-hunting documents. The folder labeled London Marketing Position was last modified 8 months ago. Inside were 3 generic cover letters and a resume that hadn't been updated since graduation. No interview notes, no company research, no correspondence with the firm she claimed to be joining. I opened my banking app and started categorizing every transfer I'd made to Sarah over the last 3 years. The pattern became clear immediately. Large deposits from me were followed within days by purchases at Nordstrom, Saks Fifth Avenue, and high-end restaurants. A $5,000 transfer for moving expenses coincided with Instagram photos from a Miami Beach resort. The professional wardrobe fund matched credit card charges at a luxury spa in Scottsdale. My cousin Jennifer worked in marketing for a tech company with offices in London. We weren't close, but she'd always been straight with me. I called her, despite it being past 10 at night. Donnie? Is everything okay? She sounded concerned. It was unusual for me to call. Jennifer, I need to ask you something. Sarah told me she got a job with a prestigious marketing firm in London. Have you heard anything about it through your network? Sarah's moving to London? That's amazing. Which firm? I gave her the name Sarah had mentioned. There was a pause. That's weird. My colleague just got hired there 6 months ago. They said the position Sarah described was the only opening they had, and it's been filled since January. My stomach dropped. Are you sure? Let me check LinkedIn real quick. I heard typing. Yeah, the woman who got it is posting about her 6-month anniversary with the company. Donnie, what's going on? Can you do me a favor? Can you ask around, see if anyone knows about Sarah actually having a job in London? Jennifer agreed, and within an hour, she called back. Donnie, I found something, but you're not going to like it. Tell me. Jake Harrison, you know, from Harrison Estates? His father just launched a tech startup in London 6 months ago. Very quiet. Mostly family investments. Sarah's been listed on their website as marketing consultant for 3 months already. but it looks like a vanity position. No real responsibilities listed, no team members under her. It's the kind of job rich kids give their girlfriends. I thanked Jennifer and hung up. Then I did what I should have done earlier, a deep dive into Jake Harrison's social media. His profiles were mostly private, but his sister, Madison, wasn't as careful. Her Instagram was public, and she loved documenting everything. There it was, 3 weeks ago. A photo of Jake and Sarah at a jewelry store, looking at rings. The caption read, "Can't wait for my new sister-in-law. London wedding planning begins." Wedding. They were getting married. I scrolled further. 2 months ago. Family dinner discussing Jake and Sarah's big move. Dad's so excited to have them working in the London office together. 6 months ago. Sarah's basically family already. 2 years of double dates and now we're going to be real sisters. But the most damning evidence came from a website Madison linked to last week. Jake and Sarah's wedding registry. I clicked through, my hands shaking. The wedding was set for next month at a historic estate outside London. The Our Story section made me physically ill. Jake and Sarah met at a charity gala 2 years ago. Despite coming from different worlds, they found true love. Sarah, ever independent, insisted on contributing equally to their future together, working tirelessly and saving every penny to prove she wasn't interested in the Harrison fortune, but in Jake's heart. Her financial responsibility and determination to build their life together through her own efforts convinced Jake's family that she was the one. Saving every penny. Her own efforts, my $21,500 had become her proof of independence. The registry itself was obscene. Crystal champagne flutes at $300 a pair, a $4,000 espresso machine, designer luggage sets that cost more than my car. The shipping address was a London townhouse in Kensington that would cost millions. I found the venue's website. The wedding package they'd clearly chosen started at £75,000, just the venue, not including catering, flowers, or anything else. Sarah was planning a 6-figure wedding while I was eating ramen. My phone rang. It was Marcus, my best friend whose bachelor party I'd missed to save money for Sarah. "Donnie, weird question, but I just saw something strange on LinkedIn. Your sister is listed as working for Harrison Tech in London? I thought she was struggling to find a job? That's why you couldn't come to Vegas, right? You were helping her out?" "It's complicated," I managed. "Dude, Harrison Tech is Jake Harrison's dad's company. I know because we pitched to them for investment last year. It's basically a tax shelter that employs family members and friends." "Is Sarah dating Jake Harrison?" "Engaged, apparently." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Donnie, please tell me you haven't been funding her move thinking she needed help." When I didn't answer, he swore. "That family is worth hundreds of millions. Jake drives a Lamborghini. I've seen him at investor parties. If Sarah's marrying him, she doesn't need your money. I know that now. How much did you give her? Including the transfer today? $37,000 over 3 years. Marcus whistled low. "Donnie, I don't know how to tell you this, but I was at an investor dinner last month. Jake was there, drunk, bragging about his fiancé. He said she was brilliant, that she'd convinced her family to invest in their future without them knowing they were actually funding her independence from them. He thought it was hilarious that her brother was basically paying for her to not need her family anymore." The coffee shop suddenly felt too small, too hot. Sarah hadn't just lied to me. She'd made me a joke, a punchline in Jake's wealthy circle. The working-class brother funding his sister's escape from working-class life. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I made lists, checked documents, and prepared for war. By noon the next day, I was ready. At exactly 12:45 p.m., 3 hours before Sarah's engagement party masquerading as a farewell party, I set my plan in motion. First, I called the bank. The joint account I'd set up for Sarah's relocation expenses still had $8,000 in it. Money I'd transferred for her emergencies in London. "I need to freeze this account immediately," I told the representative. "Sir, this is a joint account. The other account holder would need to be notified." "Perfect. Please notify them that as the primary account holder and sole contributor of funds, I'm exercising my right to freeze the account pending review of potentially fraudulent activity. Fraudulent activity? Sir, should we involve our fraud department? That might be necessary. The co-holder has been misrepresenting the purpose of the funds. I have documentation. The account was frozen within minutes. Sarah would get an automated text from the bank immediately. Next, I contacted Beckingham Properties, the London estate agent managing Sarah's apartment. It was after 8 p.m. in London, but their emergency line was available. This is Donnie Fletcher. I'm calling about the lease I co-signed for Sarah Fletcher. Property at 32 Thornbury Gardens. Flat 4B. Yes, Mr. Fletcher. How can we help? I need to formally withdraw as guarantor, effective immediately. I'm sending over documentation now, showing that I was induced to sign under false pretenses. Mr. Fletcher, this is highly irregular. The lease terms require 30 days' notice for any changes to the guarantor status. The lease also requires truthful disclosure from all parties. Miss Fletcher failed to disclose that she had additional financial backing from the Harrison family. This materially changes the risk assessment. I'm happy to discuss this with your legal department. There was a long pause. Mr. Fletcher, without a guarantor, Miss Fletcher would need to provide 6 months' rent in advance, not the 2 months currently paid. That's her concern, not mine. The documentation removing me as guarantor is in your inbox. I hung up and immediately canceled the return flight tickets I'd bought for Sarah's Christmas visit. The airline would notify her of the cancellation since she was the passenger. Then I opened the family group chat and typed, "Effective immediately, I'm withdrawing all financial support for Sarah's move. I've frozen the relocation account and removed myself as guarantor on the London lease. Good luck with the engagement party today." I turned off my phone's ringer but kept it face up on my desk, watching the notifications roll in. Mom, Donnie, what have you done? Tyler, real mature little brother, throwing a tantrum like a child. Sarah, what the hell, Donnie? The bank just froze my account. Mom, please call me honey, we can fix this. Sarah, you're seriously doing this 3 hours before my party? You're pathetic. Tyler, this is why we didn't invite you. You always make everything about yourself. Sarah, Jake's father is at the bank right now. You're humiliating me. Whew. Dad, son, please reconsider. Don't burn bridges you can't rebuild. Sarah, if you don't fix this right now, I will never speak to you again. Sarah, I'm serious, Donnie. Sarah, please. Sarah, I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry I didn't invite you. Sarah, Donnie, please. Tyler, you realize you're ruining her life over a party invitation? Mom sent a voice message. I didn't play it. Sarah, Jake is freaking out. Sarah, his dad wants to talk to you. 30 minutes after my announcement, my phone rang with an unknown number. I answered. Mr. Fletcher? This is William Harrison, Jake's father. His voice was cold, corporate, the kind that was used to people jumping when he spoke. I understand there's been some confusion regarding Sarah's financial arrangements. No confusion at all, Mr. Harrison. I've been funding Sarah's move under false pretenses. I'm simply withdrawing my support. Mr. Fletcher, I'm at the bank now. Without your guarantee, the London property requires 6 months advance rent. That's £42,000. Rather steep for a last-minute request. That sounds like Sarah's problem. Or perhaps yours, since your son is marrying her. There was a pause. Mr. Fletcher, I was under the impression that Sarah had saved $50,000 of her own money for this move. That's what she told my son. Are you telling me this isn't true? Mr. Harrison, the only money Sarah has saved is what I gave her. $37,000 over 3 years to be exact. Every penny she claims as savings came from my bank account, while I lived on ramen noodles and drove a dying car. The silence stretched longer this time. That's concerning. Jake assured me Sarah was financially independent, that she'd worked hard to save for their future together. It was one of the things that impressed me about her, that she wasn't after our money. Funny thing about that, she needed my money to prove she didn't need your money. Rather clever, actually. Mr. Fletcher, if what you're saying is true, this is a serious matter. My family doesn't take kindly to deception. especially regarding finances. I'll need to verify this information. Check her bank records. Every deposit traces back to me. I have 3 years of transfer receipts if you need them. That won't be necessary. Mr. Fletcher, I need to have a conversation with my son and your sister. Thank you for your candor. He hung up. 5 minutes later, Sarah called, hysterical. You destroyed everything. Jake's father is calling off the engagement. He thinks I'm a gold digger. Aren't you? I asked calmly. You dug into my gold to get to his. I hate you. You've ruined my life because you're jealous. You're a pathetic loser who can't stand to see anyone else happy. Sarah, I gave you $37,000. I lived in poverty for 3 years to fund your lies. And you couldn't even invite me to your engagement party. How so? It wasn't an engagement party. Madison Harrison's Instagram says otherwise. Nice wedding registry, by the way. $4,000 coffee machine? Really? She hung up. Tyler called next. Do you realize what you've done? The Harrisons are connected to everyone in Denver. This will ruin our family's reputation. Our family had no reputation until 5 minutes ago. Now we're the family that cons people. Seems accurate to me. You're destroying Sarah's future over your hurt feelings. No, Tyler. Sarah destroyed her own future when she built it on lies and my money. I'm just collecting what's mine. You can't get that money back. It's gone. I know. But at least I can stop hemorrhaging more. And if the Harrisons are the kind of people who'd reject Sarah for lying about money, then maybe she shouldn't marry into that family anyway. You don't get it, do you? This was Sarah's chance to move up, to be somebody. She was already somebody, Tyler. She was my sister. Apparently, that wasn't enough for her. At 2 p.m., my phone buzzed with a voice message from Dad. His contact photo, him smiling at a barbecue years ago when things were simpler, stared back at me. I almost didn't play it. But something made me tap the button. I played it twice, to make sure I heard right. Donnie, son, I need to tell you something. Your mother and we haven't been honest with you. About a lot of things. His voice was rough, tired, like he'd aged years in hours. We took out a second mortgage on the house 5 years ago. Not for my back surgery like we told you. For Tyler, he needed $300,000 for his dental practice, for equipment and setup costs. We gave it to him. All of it. There was a pause, the sound of him clearing his throat. He promised to pay us back once the practice was established. It's been 5 years, Donnie. He's never paid a cent. Says the practice is still building. But I see his new cars, his house in Cherry Hills, that damn Rolex. We're drowning in debt, son. The real reason we couldn't help Sarah wasn't just my medical bills. It's because we gave everything to Tyler, and he left us with nothing. Another pause. I could hear Mom in the background asking who he was talking to. We encouraged Sarah to ask you for money because we felt guilty. We helped Tyler, couldn't help her, and you. You were always the responsible one, the one who never asked for anything. We figured you could handle it, that you'd want to help your sister like we helped Tyler. The recording crackled as he shifted the phone. There's more. Tyler knew about Sarah and Jake from the beginning. He's been treating Jake's family at his practice for free in exchange for connections. He knew about the engagement 6 months ago. Hell, Jake asked him to be the best man at the wedding in London. The whole family-only farewell party was Tyler's idea. He told Sarah you'd find out about the wedding if you came, that you'd cause a scene and embarrass everyone. His voice broke slightly. And Sarah. She's been telling Jake's family that you're not really her brother, that you're a family friend who owed me money from some old business deal, and that's why you were helping financially. She was ashamed, Donnie. Ashamed of having a brother who's just a software engineer when Jake's siblings are all doctors and lawyers and bankers. The message cut off, hitting the time limit. Another one came through immediately. I'm sorry, son. We failed you. We took your generosity for granted. Let Sarah use you. Let Tyler poison everything with his greed and pride. You deserved better from all of us. I don't expect forgiveness. I just thought you should know the truth. The message ended. I sat in my apartment, staring at the phone. Before I could process everything, another text came through. This one from Mom, but clearly sent by accident as it was meant for Sarah. "Don't worry, sweetie. Donnie will come around. He always does. Give him a week and play the little sister card. Remember how it worked when you crashed his car in college? He even paid for the repairs himself." So even that had been manipulation. Senior year of college, Sarah had borrowed my car and wrapped it around a telephone pole. She'd cried, said she was so sorry, that she'd been avoiding a dog in the road. I'd paid the $5,000 repair bill myself rather than go through insurance because she begged me not to let Mom and Dad find out. Now I knew they'd known all along. My phone rang. "Jennifer? Donnie, I just heard something insane. Is it true that Jake Harrison called off his engagement to Sarah at the country club? During their party?" "What?" "My friend works catering at the club. She said William Harrison stood up during the toast, announced that the engagement was off due to financial misrepresentation, and walked out with Jake. Sarah apparently had a complete meltdown. Security had to escort her out. I felt no satisfaction, just emptiness. Thanks for telling me. Donnie, there's something else. Marcus has been trying to reach you. He says it's important and good news." I called Marcus immediately. "Finally. Dude, I've been trying to call you. Listen, remember that startup I've been working on? We just closed our Series A funding. $10 million. I need a CTO, someone I trust completely. The job is yours if you want it. Marcus, I appreciate it, but I don't need a pity job." "Pity? Donnie, I've been watching you for 3 years. Those freelance projects you did to make extra money? I know the clients. They rave about your work. You built infrastructure that companies 5 times our size couldn't manage. You did it on no sleep, with ancient equipment, while dealing with your family drama. You're exactly who I need. What's the salary?" $250,000 base, plus equity. Real equity, not the bullshit options most startups offer. You'd be a founding partner. I nearly dropped the phone. That was triple what I made now. "Marcus, why didn't you offer this before?" "Because you would have said no. You were too focused on taking care of Sarah. You would have seen the risk of a startup and chosen the safe path to keep funding her dreams. Now that you're free, I can finally make the offer I've wanted to make for a year. When do you need an answer? Take the weekend." "But Donnie, don't let your family guilt you into passing this up. You've given them enough." After we hung up, I sat in my empty apartment, surrounded by secondhand furniture and the ghost of sacrifices I'd made for someone who was ashamed of me. My phone continued buzzing with messages from family, but I didn't read them. Instead, I made a decision. Saturday morning, I put on my only suit. It wasn't designer, wasn't custom-tailored, but it was clean, and it fit. I drove to the country club where Sarah's engagement party had imploded the day before, but I wasn't going there for confrontation. I had something else in mind. The receptionist at the club recognized drama when she saw it. "Are you here for an event, sir? I have something to deliver to Mr. William Harrison. I know he has a standing tennis reservation on Saturday mornings. Could you ensure he receives this?" I handed her a manila envelope, sealed and marked personal and confidential. She looked uncertain, but I slipped a $20 bill across the counter, probably the last 20 I had to my name. "It's important." Inside that envelope were printed copies of every bank transfer I'd made to Sarah over 3 years. $37,000 documented in painful detail. Each transfer included my notes. For Sarah's visa application, Sarah's apartment deposit, Sarah's professional wardrobe. 3 years of my financial blood, laid out in black and white. But the most important piece was my note on top. "Mr. Harrison, I don't expect you to understand why I'm sending this, but I believe in truth. Sarah told you she saved $50,000. Here's proof of $37,000 that came from me. The other $13,000 likely came from your family, which she also claimed as her own savings. I'm not sending this out of spite. I'm sending it because your son deserves to know who he was about to marry. If Sarah could lie to her own brother while taking everything he had, if she could be ashamed of the very person funding her dreams, what would she do to your son once the ring was secure? The $8,000 in the frozen account was my emergency fund for Sarah. I suggest you claim it as partial repayment for whatever your family gave her under false pretenses. Consider it my engagement gift to Jake, the gift of truth before it was too late. I wish your family well. Donnie Fletcher. The brother she was ashamed of. An hour later, my phone exploded with texts from Sarah. She was at my apartment building, screaming at my door. I wasn't there. I was at Marcus's office, reviewing the startup's business plan and my potential equity stake. Tyler called 15 times. I didn't answer. Mom sent voice messages crying about family loyalty. I deleted them unheard. But at 3 p.m., something unexpected happened. Jake Harrison called me directly. Mr. Fletcher, this is Jake. I wanted to thank you personally. I was surprised by his tone. It wasn't angry or cold like his father's had been. It sounded genuinely grateful. My father showed me your documentation. I had no idea. Sarah told me you were a distant family friend who owed her father money. She said that's why you were helping. To pay off an old debt. I'm her brother. Her actual brother who she was ashamed of because I'm not rich enough for your circle. I understand that now. Mr. Fletcher, can I tell you something? I loved Sarah. Really loved her. But what disturbs me most isn't the money. It's that she could systematically destroy someone who loved her, take everything they had, and then erase them from her life because they didn't fit her new image. What kind of person does that? I've been asking myself the same question. My father wants to reimburse you. The full $37,000. He says it's wrong that you suffered while Sarah played games with our family. That's not necessary, he insists. Mr. Fletcher, you saved me from a lifetime of marriage to someone who could lie that easily, that completely. $37,000 is cheap compared to what a divorce would have cost me in a few years. I didn't do it for money. I know. That's why you deserve it back. The check will be delivered Monday. Also, my father owns several tech companies. If you ever need a reference or connection, please call. He's impressed by your integrity. After Jake hung up, Marcus appeared in the doorway of the conference room where I'd been sitting. Good call? He asked. Surprising call. The Harrisons want to pay me back everything I gave Sarah. You're kidding. Nope, $37,000 coming Monday. Marcus grinned. Perfect. You can invest it in our startup. I'll give you an additional 2% equity for that amount. In 5 years, it'll be worth 10 times that. For the first time in 3 years, I smiled genuinely. You know what? Yes. Let's do it. That evening, I finally went home to find my apartment door covered in post-it notes from Sarah. They ranged from "I'm sorry" to "You ruined my life" to "Please talk to me" to "I hate you forever." I peeled them all off and threw them away. Inside, there were 43 missed calls and over 100 text messages. I scrolled through them without reading, noting the progression from anger to bargaining to desperation to rage again. The only message I responded to was from my cousin Jennifer. Heard about your new job with Marcus. Congratulations. You deserve something good after everything. Sunday arrived with blessed quiet. I was packing my apartment, preparing to move to a better place now that I could afford it, when Dad showed up at my door. Can we talk? He asked, looking older than I'd ever seen him. I let him in but didn't offer coffee. Tyler's practice is failing, he said without preamble. The Harrisons spread the word about what happened. His high-end clients are leaving. He's going to lose everything. And you want me to help him like I helped Sarah? No. Dad's response surprised me. I want you to know that we understand if you never speak to any of us again. What we did was unforgivable. Yes, it was. Your mother is devastated. Not about Sarah's situation, but about realizing what we put you through. She found your old bank statements in the trash when she came by. Saw how you were living on nothing while funding Sarah. She hasn't stopped crying. Good. Maybe she'll think twice before enabling the next manipulation. Dad nodded slowly. I wanted you to know that we're going to make Tyler pay us back. Every cent. We're getting a lawyer. It won't fix what we did to you, but maybe it'll help us remember that actions have consequences. What about Sarah? She's moving back home. Jake's family blacklisted her in Denver society. No marketing firm will touch her. She's working at a coffee shop while she figures things out. The same type of coffee shop where I'd sat counting every penny while she spent thousands on clothes. Poetic justice. I hope she learns from this, I said. She won't, Dad said quietly. At least not for a long time. She still thinks you destroyed her life out of jealousy. She doesn't understand that she destroyed it herself, with lies. 6 months have passed since that dramatic week, when my family's true colors were revealed. I'm sitting in my new office, not a cramped studio apartment, but a real office, with windows overlooking downtown Denver. The nameplate on my door reads Donnie Fletcher, Chief Technology Officer. Marcus's startup has exceeded every projection. We've just closed our Series B funding at a valuation that makes my equity worth more than I ever dreamed. The $37,000 I invested is now worth close to $400,000 on paper, and we haven't even gone public yet. William Harrison was true to his word. The check arrived that Monday 6 months ago, and he sent several referrals our way. Jake even became one of our angel investors, saying he owed me for saving him from what would have been a disastrous marriage. But the real satisfaction isn't in the money, it's in what happened at Thanksgiving last week. I'd agreed to come to dinner at my parents' house, the first time I'd seen them all together since everything fell apart. The house looked the same, but everything felt different. Tyler was there, humbled and quiet, his Rolex gone. Driving a Honda now, instead of his BMW. His practice had indeed failed, and he was working for another dentist, starting over. Sarah sat across from me, her designer clothes replaced with simple jeans and a sweater. She'd lost weight, but not in a healthy way. The sparkle that had always been in her eyes was dim. She worked 40 hours a week at a coffee shop and lived in the basement of our parents' home. Donnie, she started when we finally had a moment alone. I need to apologize. I waited. I'd learned not to fill silences for other people anymore. I convinced myself that using your money was okay because I was going to pay you back someday. When I married Jake, when I was successful, I told myself I'd give you double what you gave me. But that was just another lie, wasn't it? Yes, it was. I was so obsessed with being someone different, someone important, that I forgot who I actually was. Your sister, the little girl who used to follow you around, who thought you hung the moon. Tears ran down her face, and for the first time in years, I believed they were real. I'm seeing a therapist now. She says I have issues with self-worth, that I tied my entire identity to external validation. Jake's family, their money, their status. It all made me feel valuable in a way I'd never felt before, but it was hollow because it was built on lies. What do you want from me, Sarah? Nothing. That's what I'm learning. I'm not entitled to anything from you. Not forgiveness, not money, not even a relationship. I have to earn those things, and I might never be able to. But I want you to know that losing you as my brother is the worst thing that happened. Not Jake, not the job, not the humiliation. Losing the one person who actually loved me for me, even when I couldn't love myself. Mom had changed too. The manipulative sweetness was gone, replaced by genuine remorse. She served dinner quietly, without the usual chatter and controlling behavior. When she finally spoke to me directly, it was simple. I failed you as a mother. I see that now. Tyler approached me after dinner. I owe you an apology too, and about $300,000 to Mom and Dad, which I'm paying back $50 a month for the rest of my life, apparently. He tried to smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. You were right about everything. I was so caught up in appearing successful that I forgot what actual success looks like. You, working yourself to death for Sarah while I stood by with my fancy watch and my judgment. I was the failure, not you. Dad pulled me aside as I was leaving. You've become the man I always hoped to be, but never was. You stood up for yourself. You demanded respect. You showed us all what real integrity looks like. But the most unexpected conversation came from someone else entirely. Marcus's girlfriend, Emma, had joined us for Thanksgiving. She pulled me aside during dessert. I wanted to thank you, she said. For what? For showing Marcus what real loyalty looks like. He told me about how you sacrificed everything for your sister. How you never complained. Never asked for recognition. Then how you stood up for yourself when they went too far. He said that's when he knew you were the right person for CTO. Someone who could be endlessly generous, but also knew their worth. I didn't know my worth for a long time. But you do now, and that's what matters. As I drove home from Thanksgiving dinner, I thought about the journey of the past 6 months. The Harrison check had been nice, but the real gift was freedom. Freedom from guilt, from manipulation, from the belief that family could treat me however they wanted because we shared DNA. I'd learned that generosity without boundaries becomes enablement. That helping someone isn't really helping if it allows them to avoid responsibility. That family isn't about blood, but about mutual respect and genuine love. Sarah still texts me occasionally, updates about her therapy, her slow progress toward becoming a person she can respect. I respond sometimes, when I feel like it, but I don't feel obligated anymore. She's learning that relationships require investment from both sides, not just withdrawal from one. Tyler is rebuilding his practice from scratch, this time without shortcuts or handouts. He says he's grateful for the lesson, though I doubt he really is yet. Maybe someday, my parents are facing their own reckoning, trying to rebuild their marriage and finances without the ability to manipulate their children into solving their problems. It's hard for them, but necessary. As for me, I'm thriving. The startup is on track to go public next year. I'm dating someone wonderful, a fellow engineer named Rachel, who understands the value of hard work and honesty. I have a real apartment now, with furniture I chose and paid for myself, not hand-me-downs and thrift store finds. But most importantly, I have self-respect. I know my worth, both financially and personally. I set boundaries and enforce them. I give generously, but not blindly. I've learned that the greatest gift you can give someone isn't money or unconditional support. It's the expectation that they be their best selves. The $21,500 I sent Sarah that day feels like a lifetime ago. It was the price of my education in family dynamics, manipulation, and self-worth. Expensive lessons, but valuable ones. Looking back, I realized the text message that started everything. "You're not invited to her farewell. It's family only," was the greatest gift Sarah ever gave me. It showed me exactly where I stood in their hierarchy of value. Last place, behind money, status, and appearances. But here's what my family never understood. When you put someone last consistently, eventually they stop showing up at all. And when that person is the one holding everyone else up, the whole structure collapses. I've forgiven them, mostly. Not for their sake, but for mine. Carrying anger is exhausting. And I've been exhausted enough for one lifetime. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and it certainly doesn't mean returning to old patterns. The Donnie who worked himself to death for family approval is gone. In his place stands someone who understands that true family isn't about obligation or manipulation or guilt. It's about choosing to show up for each other, honestly and authentically, without keeping score, but also without being scored upon. William Harrison called last week with another investment opportunity. "You have good instincts, Donnie," he said. "You see through facades to what's really there." That's rare. He's right. I do see clearly now. I see that love without respect is just use. That family without boundaries is just shared dysfunction. That giving without limits isn't generosity, it's self-destruction. But I also see the flip side. That standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. That demanding respect isn't arrogant, it's healthy. That walking away from toxicity isn't giving up, it's growing up. I keep one photo from the old days on my desk. It's Sarah and me at her college graduation, both of us smiling genuinely. She's holding her diploma, and I'm looking at her with such pride. That was before the lies, before the money, before she decided I wasn't good enough for her new life. I keep it as a reminder, not of what was lost, but of why boundaries matter. That girl in the photo deserved my help. The woman who was ashamed of me, who lied about my very existence, who took $37,000 while planning a wedding I wasn't invited to. She deserved exactly what she got: the truth, consequences, and a chance to become better. Marcus asked me recently if I regret helping Sarah for all those years. I thought about it for a long time before answering. No, I finally said. I regret that she wasn't who I thought she was, but I don't regret being who I was. I was a good brother, The fact that she wasn't a good sister doesn't diminish that. But the money, the sacrifices, made me who I am today. Every overtime hour, every skipped meal, every sacrifice built my character and work ethic. Sarah thought she was taking from me, but really, she was forging me into someone stronger. The pressure created a diamond, even if she was hoping for coal she could burn. He laughed at that. You should write a book. Maybe someday I will. A guide to recognizing manipulation, setting boundaries, and knowing your worth. I'd call it the $21,500 lesson, how losing everything gave me everything. The sun is setting over Denver as I finish writing this story. My phone buzzes with a text from Rachel about dinner plans. Real plans. At a real restaurant. That I can actually afford now. Life is good. Not perfect, but good. And more importantly, it's authentic. Every relationship in my life now is based on truth, mutual respect, and genuine care. The family I was born into taught me what family shouldn't be. The family I'm choosing, friend by friend, colleague by colleague, is teaching me what it should be. $21,500. That's what it cost to buy my freedom, discover my worth, and build my future. Worth every penny. Looking back now, I have a question for anyone reading this story. Have you ever found yourself giving more than you could afford, not just financially but emotionally, to someone who didn't value your sacrifice? How did you finally recognize your worth and set boundaries? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to hear more stories about family, boundaries, and finding your worth. Share it with someone who might need to hear that it's okay to stand up for themselves, even with family. Thank you for reading my journey. Remember, you teach people how to treat you. Make sure you're teaching them that you're valuable. Because you are. That slash, bashan, that's of, how, well hin, hen, how I, how hin, how en. You teach people how. May you find the strength to set boundaries and the wisdom to know when to enforce them. You deserve relationships built on mutual respect, not one-sided sacrifice.